Hey everyone, Boylon here, and today we're going to go over some Ultimus 7 gameplay footage of my Black Order team. I've been trying and testing them out in Ultimus 7 just to see how far they can possibly get, and the results actually aren't too bad, but I'm not sure if they're quite ready to replace the current meta of, combining Black Bolt, Shuri, Scientist Supreme, Ultron, and those other characters. But they do get pretty far, and it's not too bad. Not to mention that they're really cool to look at while I play it, and I quite enjoy doing it. And it's actually fairly quick because Thanos' damage is quite high. So I'm going to go over to the footage that I recorded the other night and show you guys how far I managed to get in Ultimus 7. So here we have my Ultimus 7 map that we're doing here in the middle lane on the left side. I find that to be the most challenging one, and especially prior to the raid difficulty selector. That was definitely the harder lane that I was tasked with doing, and so I wanted to try showing off some of this with my Black Order team and see how well we do. And so we have the start of the match here with basically Thanos getting all of the buffs, and I just use this basic a lot of the times because the bleed just does so much damage when he's using it, and it's almost, especially in these early nodes, it's almost enough just to completely obliterate everything. And I'm just still surprised how much damage he does, but I do have to put a disclaimer, and I said this in my other videos, that, I have a 7 red star Thanos. If you guys haven't seen my Thanos, he's completely maxed out. 7 red star, gear 214, T-Force and everything. So, you have to take this a little bit with a grain of salt over how much damage my Thanos can output, but it's still fairly impressive. And once we get further on, he still holds up fairly well. I think the biggest problem is largely the rest of the team and the damage they take. And unfortunately, Ebony Maw, he's not a healer, so most of the healing that the team does get comes from Thanos' passive, which unfortunately only triggers once per match. So there isn't a whole lot of sustain that this team can really provide. But what the great thing is, actually, is that happens once per match, and since my Thanos happens to have so much hit points, that the regeneration that each of the Black Order members have is based on his hit points. And so we're entering the second node here in Ultimus 7, and this one used to give me a lot of trouble, or a little bit of trouble anyways, prior to the change in difficulty, but a lot of the early nodes really aren't that difficult, and especially because their hit points have been drastically reduced, that Thanos just completely melts them. And in case people weren't aware, Thanos actually maintains the energy that he had prior to the last level. So here you see me just completely melt them with Celestial Barrage, his ultimate, and the whole wave just goes down. And so you can almost think of that as like a mini storm, that if you were to save it for a particular boss node or something, then you can just completely melt base. Where Thanos does shine, though, of course, here is that when they're all clumped together and everyone gets the bleeds and the damage, and it's a lot. Where he does fall a little bit is not being able to target multiple targets, and the damage is not as huge to everyone else. So I don't really have too much trouble doing this node either, but you see that Corvus definitely took some damage there. Yeah, he gets his regeneration, but I think he dies before. Yeah, he definitely dies before the Corvus gets that regen off, so that's a bit unfortunate. So we're going to be going into the boss node a bit damaged, and so that does provide a bit of a problem when they can't heal up. Actually, no, sorry, I forget that this is actually the boss node. The first boss node was cleared by an alliance mate, so we are just going straight into the fourth node here on the left. But yeah, Corvus is going in with less than 50% hit points, so we kind of have to rely on the other teammates getting damaged enough to trigger that regen. And that's the biggest downfall for them, is not being able to heal up. Ebony Maw's ultimate just really isn't enough to keep them alive. So, you know, as you can see, you know, they have very high damage, but when it comes to keeping certain characters alive, for me it seems to be Corvus and Proxima. They are they're kind of glass cannon-y, so they are the most likely to fall in hit points. And I just kind of rely on using a lot of damage from Thanos to hopefully make it through the level. And unfortunately in this lane, I don't think there's a lot of hero controllers, which Ebony Maw can make use of his barrier that he gets from his passive. And I think that might make a huge difference. So I haven't tested out all the Ultimus 7 lanes, but there might be some that maybe have more hero controllers than others. And ones that come to mind that I've seen in Ultimus 7 is like Vision or Star-Lord on occasion. I think Jessica Jones also qualifies as a hero controller, and Hawkeye, but I don't think I've seen Hawkeye much on notes. So there might be other lanes that might have more hero controllers and therefore have a lot more barrier going off, which is, you know, that in itself would probably help for the sustain. But so as you can see, I don't know if you saw that, but Proxima actually healed about 50,000 on the regen, which is quite a bit, and so that's based on Thanos' hit points, which is quite impressive. So I think my Thanos is probably sitting at about 400,000 or something hit points with Cull Obsidian's passive. So it's a lot of healing coming out, but that's really all they get. And I think it's only once per match. So that's like a 50k heal, assuming there's no heal block, hoping there's no heal block, for them to actually get that. This Mechs and Minions, this used to be one of my most hated nodes going through this, where it was very RNG dependent when I used my old team, and sometimes I would lose, although, you know, with Black Bolt it's not too bad. But here I think I have the ultimate saved up, if I'm not mistaken, for Thanos, and I think I used that to just clear the first wave, and that makes a huge a huge deal. Being able to save that for some of the harder nodes that you know are going to come up really makes a mountain of difference. And since they're all really clumped together, the Thanos is basic, especially with the offense up, because he gets 2 turns of offense up. It's just such huge damage, and so it really makes short work of a lot of characters. And, you know, it doesn't hurt that, you know, the bleeds that are applied is based on his damage as well, so they're taking a huge chunk of damage from those bleeds. Yeah, my Thanos just completely melts. And they actually just healed back up. Most of them healed up to full after that. So it does really go up and down, especially if they're taking damage in previous nodes, but with the fact that that regeneration triggers once per match, that really does help. And I really like the fact that Thanos gets 2 turns immediately on spawn because of Ebony Maw. And so that kind of helps him get some of his skills back if you use them, especially the ultimate. I normally save his special. I don't use it that often, mostly because I don't need to. And so it really depends on how buff heavy the other team is. I haven't been getting that much debuffs when it comes to fighting them, usually because sometimes they're dead before they even take their turns. But I try to save it for when I really need it. I don't even know if I've used it yet at this point. Usually I focus on basicking because that does so much damage, and then I flip only when I need to. And the bleed damage just does so much that usually that's enough. So I use the Ebony Maw ult here, but I mean, it doesn't heal that much. I think it healed 25k maybe to Proxima that I noticed. But most of the healing really does come from the regeneration. And so I always try to target with my basic the characters that I'll hit the most. So I want to get the most damage out by hitting, you know, 3, 4, 5 different targets, and that's usually the best that I can do. And that in itself normally makes a huge difference. It's really sad that I haven't actually run across any hero controllers in this lane. I might need to give this a try in a different lane and see how well they work out. It's not too bad. I find that I do clear it a bit faster than if I use my old raid team, because I think the damage output is incredibly high. But, you know, it's not... I haven't tried putting it on auto, and part of me because of the way that Thanos' AI interacts, I don't want to waste the special when I don't need to. So I don't know how auto-friendly this team is, but it's a lot of fun when I'm playing it, and I get a big kick out of just zapping people with Thanos' basic and seeing the damage, and especially the ultimate when I have it charged up. I haven't got a snap yet, so if people are unaware, he actually snaps his fingers and everyone turns to dust if you happen to kill everyone with his ultimate. Usually this, oh, do I get the here actually? Maybe I don't bother wasting it. Usually I don't waste it if I don't need to. The damage output from the team, though, is quite impressive, and seeing that there's a lot of damage coming out, and maybe, you know, when I can get my Corvus and Proxima to tier 13, same with Cull, that I might actually be able to go all the way. But usually I just take these as far as I can go, and then I revert back to my old raid team just to mix it up a bit. Oh, I saw Star-Lord in there, so I think in this I do get the barrier out. So Star-Lord does qualify as a hero controller. I'm not sure if that was their intention, maybe to provide Ebony Maw with some other raid utility outside of the Black Order, because he still barriers everyone, even if he's not with his team. So maybe using him in certain levels in raid was the idea behind the specific hero controller. Other than Phoenix, we know that he's a hard counter to Phoenix, but you know, the fact that it was designed in that way. I think I special here. Do I flip them? Yeah, I flipped all the buffs here, I think, because of the power armor, the tech defense ups here. And he gets 2 turns in a row, basically, before anyone else gets a chance. So I think do I melt them all? Oh, he doesn't get the snap. That's unfortunate. I did kill them all, so I don't know why he didn't get the snap. Doesn't always happen. And, I mean, at this point, it's already like half the node is already gone just by using the ultimate. So I try to save that up and use that on a big wave when possible. Because he starts with offense up from the stone that Corvus gives him, so normally it's a huge chunk of damage. And you see that there's a barrier on them as well, which you'll also get from vision, but I think at that point it'll be pretty much over. So the barrier makes a huge difference. As you can see, that Proxima is like fully barriered. So, you know, it's based on Ebony Maw's hit points that gives the barrier, but the barrier is like 40% of their max HP total, so it's a lot for some people. And the barrier isn't so much on Thanos, but for Corvus and Proxima, it's a lot of barrier, and that really helps with survivability. So maybe if you could find a lane that has much more hero controllers, that, you know, this wouldn't be a problem at all. So I'm definitely going to have to test this in the coming days on different lanes and stealing other people's in my lines as raid lanes, and seeing if I can get a bit further on different lanes than the middle one. I think this is one of the harder ones, so it's not totally surprising that this is the case. So we're getting a bit further along in the raid lane here. Corvus is like just under half health. Everyone else is still in the green though, so I haven't had to use any raid heal packs yet. I try, you know, even though I'm capped out at like 500 raid heal packs, I try not to use it unless I completely need to. Sometimes I do it just to bring someone back, but the problem, I guess, also with the Black Order is that if you lose one person, then Thanos won't get his empowered form anymore, so that really makes a dent in sort of his raid viability, the entire team. So if he can't get his empowered form, it almost doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use it. But here, I'm stuck behind a Drax taunt. It doesn't last too long though, and then I think I switch over here. Basically want to get as many targets as possible, and those bleeds will just finish them off. I try to save most of my cooldowns where possible. Sometimes there's always the special with Ebony Maw, and that really helps the survivability there. And you know, maybe I should be using that more than I do for the defense up. It's always Proxima and Corvus that's in the yellow and the red. But because the regen is based on Thanos' health, like I said before, it really helps get them up. But it's only once per match, so longer fights, especially on boss fights, can be a bit of a challenge if there's a lot of AoE damage going on. This is really, really good for Thanos here, because there's so many characters clumped together that one basic just spreads so much damage and bleeds, and it's really easy for him to get through this. And of course, anytime that Thanos gets hit, that Cull will attack back as well, and it does a fair bit of damage actually. All these attacks on Thanos. And so at this point, the match is almost done. I mean, the 4 of them there just drop in together. Makes it really easy to do these multi-target attacks. More bleeds going on. I mean, at this point, the bleed's probably trick. Oh, and Call Obsidian's basic as well. It's really nice. It's pretty much more damage thrown on top of that. I'm pretty sure most of them are just going to drop to bleeds. The bleed damage is quite substantial. I have my ultimate ready, but I'm probably saving that for the next boss. Call, on the other hand, he's pretty close to dead, so there's not much we can do about that since he can't heal up. And that's a bit of a problem. So anyone who gets that low, especially on Call, there's no real way for him to heal up. So that's probably my only concern and my only gripe with the team, but I mean, they were never made to be a raid team, so this isn't entirely surprising, but you know, it's fun to see sort of what they can do anyways. This is usually the node that I have a bit of troubles with. This is, I guess, getting closer to the end, but not quite the last mini-boss. And at least in my alliance, there's only a handful of people actually that can get up to this far. We usually are about 50 to 60% on our raid progress. And so Cull's like at 0 hit points. I do the ultimate early on just to clear the wave. Don't know if that was the best time to use it, but he has the offense up, so that's why I try to get as much use out of it as I possibly can. I think the problem here is the Magneto, because I know once Magneto gets going, that's going to be rough. I do get the stun on him though, but I don't know how long that lasts. I try to target as many people as possible for the basic. That's the best way to get his damage out there. Same with Corvus and his ultimate. It's a good way to hit multiple targets. The whole team in general actually isn't too bad when it comes to hitting multiple targets. A lot of their abilities actually have adjacent targets in their kit. Oh, and then Cull goes down. So at that point, it's almost over. You know, at least when it comes to being able to have the whole team and Thanos getting the empowered form. So that's not going to happen after this node, and I don't think I actually make it too much longer. This is a bit of a tough node, using the Black Order especially, so I think Magneto gets his ultimate in the blinds, and I think maybe I used Thanos' special at the wrong time, but at this point I'm just trying to do as much damage as I possibly can before I fall down. And apparently Ebony Maw's special actually doesn't land if he's blinded, so that's something new to me that I just learned. So don't do that at home, guys. I don't even know if we managed to kill Magneto here or not. I know it's starting to fall apart. Basically, I heard almost everyone's dead, so it's not going to last too much longer. Just trying to do as much damage as I can before everyone's dead, and it's pretty much done here. And there goes Ebony Maw. So yeah, everyone's dead at this point. It's, you know, not entirely surprising. They're not made to last. They're a heavy powerhouse damage team, but aside from that, they don't really have a whole lot of sustain to get them through healing. And of course, if you replace anyone at all, then Thanos won't get his empowered form, so that makes it a bit difficult. Overall, I get about 16 million damage here. Puts me at 3rd place. That's all for me today, guys. So let me know what you guys think about the Black Order in Ultimus 7, and if any of you have tried to use them in the raids or have tried different lanes and had different success with that. Probably in the coming days I'll be testing it out on each of the lanes to see if I can get any further on any of the other ones. And you know, I really enjoy using this team. I've said this in my other videos, but I definitely don't regret building them up, and I'm having a whole lot of fun using them. So let me know what you guys think, and definitely leave a like and subscribe if you guys like this content, and stay tuned for more videos on Marvel Strike Force. Until then, stay safe, everyone.